The church fathers, like Augustine and Ambrose and several other guys, have written extensively on sacred scripture during their time when they were alive. And so if you're looking anything like commentary-wise, like if you want to kind of see, who are some really, really smart people that have, and what have they said about different Bible passages and different things within Scripture, the church fathers are usually, good people to start with. So the church fathers, in writing on this gospel passage, one thing they kind of talked about is they made the comparison and talking about the storms and comparing the storm to people's lives. And what they talked about in that with the storm is like, okay, so what do storms kind of represent? And storms are very chaotic and can be very destructive, as we kind of heard in the gospel reading, how they're being tossed about and the boat starts to be filling up with water. So yeah, they feel that they're perishing, as they said. It's like, Lord, don't you care that we are perishing? Thinking death is imminent. I mean, it's not like, a rain shower that we got this afternoon here in like North Iowa, but it's something intense that literally causes these people to think their life is and probably almost over. Hence that word perishing. So the words that the church fathers use to describe these storms on the Sea of Galilee are chaotic and destructive. Okay? And oftentimes we can as well see that and understand that in our own life. Like our lives oftentimes feel chaotic. Our lives often feel stormy, that there's always so much going on. If I got a nickel for every time I have heard someone, and me, I've said it too, and every time I've heard someone say, well, Father, as soon as things calm down, jeez. You know what I'd do? I would build like a massive structure, grotto, outside door, Stations of the Cross. Pay off my truck. Do all sorts of cool things like that, It's like, be loaded. Maybe buy a house in the lake, who knows? But yeah, that's the thing that we often say, my brothers and sisters. Oh, once things calm down. Well, guess what? It's not. I'm being serious, because do they ever? There's always something. There's always something to do. There's always going to be some place to be, some person to help, or someone that needs us in some way, shape, or form. There's always going to be something. But it's how we're going to respond to that and what we're going to do to prioritize in our life to actually survive. Because oftentimes what we do, my brothers and sisters, myself included, is we let that chaos kind of take the best of us, as the apostles did in the gospel reading today. What was their first thought? Their first thought was, we're perishing, we're all gonna die, Lord save me. And Jesus, not even fazed by this. Because what does St. Paul say? St. Paul makes mention to the Christ that lives within us, right? There is Christ dwelling within each and every one of us. But how often, my brothers and sisters, do we actually take advantage of that? Or how often do we just simply let Christ sleep in our own life? We might say something like, oh, I just feel far from God, I don't have enough time to do blah, 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 or this or that, or this or that. Are we going to Mass regularly? Are we receiving the sacraments of reconciliation? Are we praying daily? Are we going to adoration when we can? Are we reading Scripture? Are we helping the poor and those who are in need? Are we striving to give to those who are in need? Are we trying and striving to live lives of sainthood? Are we striving to be virtuous? Are we trying to become holy? Or are we just trying to do all the things in life that seem very chaotic and seem also to be very destructive, as storms can be? Because if we just continue to allow the chaos in life to go about, then what we're doing is we're just letting the Christ within us sleep. But we need to awaken that. We need to utilize Christ. I mean, Christ gives us gifts, right? I mean, hell, he gives us the Eucharist every single Sunday, right? And it's like, are we like willingly when wanting and desiring to receive that? Are we receiving the sacraments of the church? Are we like clenching to those things? Are we striving for that? Or are we letting that Christ within us just rest, sound asleep? Because, I mean, you saw what happens when Christ is within us is awakened. It's like instantly the storm ceases. The rains are calmed, and there was a calm and peace throughout it. So, I mean, we can see the difference of when someone utilizes Christ, when calls upon him, when we strive for that, or when we just say, ah! You know, like run around with like our heads cut off, you know? Like there's an extreme difference, not just in our behavior, but in the result. So we have to ask ourselves that question, my brothers and sisters, is how are we going to respond to that? I mean, by virtue of our baptism, we are given like Christ is within us. And literally receiving the Eucharist, yes, duh, of course. But how do we respond to that? Do we take that in and do we use that grace? Do we try to become holier? Are we striving after Christ? Are we striving after goodness and holiness and sainthood? Or are we letting the chaos and the destruction of the world, like the storms of life, are we letting them have so much power over us that we don't know how to respond? That we are literally just playing catch up, saying like, oh, you know, like when things calm down, everything's going to be okay. It's not going to calm down. Let's just call it as it is, right? Because when do things get slower? When we die. Accept that Christ within us, my brothers and sisters. Call upon him. Grow closer to him and allow him to work in our lives.